Hey guys, welcome back to Riders Meeting for round 3 at Thunder Valley. I'm your host, Brent Bowser. We're joined here today with Jeff Beaver. Jeff, you were up at the race this weekend. Lots of action to get into. Man, I think I was actually left the weekend confused in the 450 class. The 250 class was good, but 450, it's pretty wild. We got to unpack that. Before we jump into it, I want to give a shout out to the sponsors for making it happen for us. Rock and Turf. If you're in the market for artificial grass, changing mats, things like that, check out Rock and Turf. Maxxis tires, truck, mountain bike, light truck tires, dirt bike tires. If you're looking for tires, Maxxis has you covered. Speed strap, tie downs and toe straps, factory connection, best suspension in the business, in my opinion, and I think in all of our opinion. UR Water, our newest partner, pH Balanced Water. Get you some UR water. I'm sure you had plenty of that this weekend, Jeff, up there in Thunder Valley. And the elevation, how to stay hydrated. And Baja Designs, they're a big part of our dual sport bike builds here on Whiskey Throttle Media. So, yeah, man, before we get into the class, I want to say, as far as the weather goes and the track goes and all that, I was really happy to see that they kept the prep seemed similar to Hangtown and maybe even Paula, where the riders were able to use most of the track up. I've heard some mixed reviews from some of the interviews I've listened to, where Thunder Valley usually gets pretty ruddy, which I think it did in some sections, but I mean, I feel like the racing was really good because the riders were able to move around the track. But I heard some mixed reviews. What did you hear up there?
Well, usually it's a slot car track from the start gate to the finish line. I think Hunter kind of brought that up. They brought in a ton of wood chips to that track, and it slotted up on top of the hill when you come off the Thunder Valley sign and come back down through those weird section
Yeah,
where Anderson was hitting that wall jump.
yeah,
Some of the lower corners rutted up, but most of it just kind of laid over. You did get some ruts built up, but nothing big, nothing anywhere near what Thunder Valley's like. So it allowed a lot of change in directions and stuff like that. You weren't locked into a line. Some of the guys I talked to weren't stoked on it. One of the guys was like, "I'm not a flat tracker, man. I need some ruts,"
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you can't please everybody, but he probably was mentally prepared for slot car racing and got that. But the track was pretty good on prep. At the first practice, as they're coming past the mechanic area, you'd see him go through, and it was wet, maybe about 3-4 inches down, and you could see it was kind of dry underneath. So they did a good job of not putting too much water in there, which probably helped during the last 250 moto because we got about a 5-10 minute squall that put quite a bit of moisture on the ground. And had it been really wet to begin with, I think it would have been squirrely. But now, otherwise, it came out pretty good. The thing I was surprised about is how big the rocks in that track were. I mean, it was surprising. I mean, there were softball sized rocks all over the place on the start. I didn't get hit with anybody. I saw one go flying, off a bike down the track. I was like, "Ooh, that would not feel good." But
No, no.
yeah, I was surprised how much rock was there. Kind of reminded me of Farley Castle in England. Maybe just a little bit bigger rock, but Farley was pretty severe rock in the track. Chad Reed looked like he stood in front of a paintball gun for like 2 hours and just got welted up. It was like, holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm sure those guys were not too thrilled on all the rock, but otherwise it was like a 50-50 mix.
Yeah, because I mean, we've seen in the past, right, where that track is, like you said, slot car, where you're kind of locked into a rut from maybe to the entrance of the corner to the exit. Where, in my opinion, again, I'm not out there racing, but as a fan and us, analyzing the sport, where when those guys are able to use up the track like they were able to, where it's not just slot carish, I feel like we get really good racing. Um, but on the flip side, the ruts and things like that really bring out your technical skills. Where I think Hunter talked about that in the post race interview, where I mean, obviously he was happy on the day, and we'll get into his results, but he was saying the track was just super smooth, super fast and smooth the first moto. Then there was any ruts really second moto, but it was rough. So I think it just depends on your style. But I mean, honestly, the racing was great. I thought the prep's been good, like you said. If they would have dug it too deep and ripped it too deep in water too much, that start of that second motor after the rain would have been nasty. Where it looked a little slick, but it wasn't too bad. I feel like it
Yeah.
actually helped it out once it actually wore in. Um, and then I know we were delayed. Was that because of thunder and lightning, or is that just the wind? I mean, I heard stories of wind picking up the canopies all day and stuff like that. So I heard that it was just crazy weather.
So press day, I didn't get in till about 7:45 at night, and I was throwing Hail Marys flying in. I mean, that plane was rocking and rolling, and I've flown all over the world. I've been on some gnarly flights past volcanoes going off in the Andes Mountains. I'm like, that was a gnarly flight in like the last half hour. Was like, I got up to take a piss, and I'm back in the back, all holding on, trying not to slam my head into the roof. I'm like, oh, perfect time, you
Did
know?
you send your goodbye text or what?
No, she don't care, dude. She life insurance is up. She don't give a shit. But yeah, it was pretty gnarly. And then when I got there in the morning, all the banners that they'd put up on
Mhm.
Friday around the track were destroyed. The Thunder Valley sign was laid over. Thunder was gone. It was just laid over. It actually broke the poles and the supports and laid it over.
Yeah, they showed that on
Uh,
TV, them like rebuilding a lot of the podium
it
banners and
snapped
all that.
it snapped the letter R in half. I'm all, well, you can just put an A up or something called Thunder Valley, you know, Hunter probably like that, but I don't know. It was pretty gnarly. The podium got tore up real bad. Luckily, they
Mhm.
didn't put the big banner up in the back. They
Yeah.
left that off the day before, but yeah, the place was a mess, but dude, give it to MX Sports. They had that thing looking prime for live TV by the time the camera went on there. And that track crew up there was pretty sharp. I can't remember the name of the people who do the track there, but they're pretty spot on. They're good track to go to, honestly. Good people.
Yeah, and it looks like again, I think this is a good stop on the tour, and depending on how they prep it, it goes ruddy or not. But overall, I feel like it was a good weekend of racing, and we'll dive into it. 250 class, Haiden Deegan goes 1-2, whole shot of that first moto. It was a little interesting at the end when he had that little spill and Vial got up to him, and Vial didn't get around him, but they get to where the last lap where Vial was, I mean, he closed in and he went for it in that corner. I guess before you go down and double, probably maybe a quarter of the lap left. Vial was close, and he stuck it in there, which I mean you're gonna do right last lap for the win. So that
Deegan said it was cute.
yeah. On the podium, he's like, "Well, what Tom did was pretty cute." So,
Yeah, freaking
uh,
smart ass. I love it.
I know, and everybody's like, "I wonder if he did that because Tom was pressuring him again." But I feel like Hayden had a 5 second gap on him where by the time he actually got back on the bike, like Tom was just getting to him. So typical crash like tip over, you want to call it 3 to 5 seconds. So it wasn't like Tom was right there, but it made it interesting. And then second moto, yeah, and we'll talk about Chance Hymas in a second. But second moto, Deegan was in second, pretty much behind Hymas the whole race. He would kind of close it down, and then Hymas stretched it out. So obviously a consistent ride for Hayden, 1-2 on the day. Third, win of the season, stretches out his points lead. Impressive. But I want to say, I want to know that second moto when he couldn't close on a Hymas. If was he worried a little bit because now Hymas is tied for second of the points, or do you think he was? You think he was like, all right, cool, stacking points, and I'm still the championship leader.
Well, so that first moto, I was standing right there when he slid out coming down the hill, and something told me to just go down there, and I want to get a shot of him because he was really uh, coming down off that big jump, take the left and come down the hill. He was hugging that right, and it was more off camber than it showed on
Yeah,
TV.
true. Yeah,
And he came flying in there, and I'm like, "Ooh, ooh," and he hit the ground. I'm like, oh shit.
yeah,
And so I kept the camera on him, but I looked back over my shoulder, and here comes Vial. But that kid has some good.
yeah,
He's like a
yeah.
cat,
Yeah,
dude.
he went that right into.
He just, but he was, bam, had that bike back up and going as Vial caught him.
Yeah,
And it was cool. If you look on Whiskey Throttle, I got kind of a cool angle of it, a little bit different than the TV shot. But Vial went to the outside, Hayden went to the inside. Vial squared it up,
squared up.
cut under him. And
Yeah,
so they had a good little dog fight
yeah.
coming back up into the mechanics area. And then Hayden ended up getting him again until Vial tried to do stuff it in there and get him. That was pretty sick that Haiden was able to get back up, and his heart rate spiked, but he still
Yeah.
had the brains to get back on the bike and go. So I was pretty impressed with that for being his second year out there.
Hmm.
That was pretty sharp. And then the second moto, Chance got the whole shot. Like him and Hayden were neck and neck, but Chance was two bikes over to the inside. I do believe it was one or two bikes over from Hayden. I think there was only one dude in between them, if I'm correct. But uh, Chance got the whole shot on him when they came back around the announcer's tower. He had about a bike length on him, and he just stretched it out the whole way.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Hayden was working, and
Hmm.
so I was up at the podium when they came off the track, and I heard Hayden go to him, man. I gave it everything I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing I'll give the kid, a lot of people give him shit about how cocky he is when he wins.
Hmm.
Well, you'd have to get a door stretcher to fit my head through the door if I won. I'd be talking more shit than a farmer. So I get it, right? He's
Yeah,
18.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't blame him. No, he's a
Yeah,
bad dude.
he's dialed, but if you look at how he was towards Chance in the press conference yesterday, he was super respectful and polite to
Mhm.
him. So the kid is polite and respectful in defeat, right? He
Yep.
didn't win it. He didn't talk shit. He
Hmm.
he was cool about it. So, people always like to point out the bad things people do, but they
Yeah.
never really point out the good things they do. So I'll give him credit on that. That a lot of 18-year-old kids probably wouldn't have been
No.
that cool to chance about it. I don't know if they're buddies. Don't know. Don't care. But I thought that's the one thing I took away from it was, hey man, it was actually pretty damn cordial in defeat out there. And then,
Yeah.
it was funny on the podium, what he said about Tom stuffing it in there, that it was
Yeah.
cute.
It
I
was
like the
cute.
shit
Yeah.
talking, but the kid's smart, dude. And
Yeah. Yeah.
he'll do all right, especially as he gets older. I mean,
Yeah.
look how Jet was. He got booed a couple times,
Yeah.
and there you go.
Yeah. I mean, think of all the stuff we did when we were 18 and we didn't have the spotlight and the media and everything looking at you. So again, and he even said that on the podium interview with JT, or I don't know if it was Will or JT, but he even said, dude, Hymus was ripping out there. I mean, that good shout out to him, right? So like that's cool that he acknowledged that. They've raced together in the amateurs. I feel like they never really got a chance to go head to head because either one or the other was hurt. But yeah, man, solid ride by Chance. He goes 4-1 on the day. First overall podium for him on the 250 class. He had a moto podium before, but he goes 4-1 on the day. And dude, that second moto was impressive. Like I said, I was watching the gap between him and Hayden, and I was just waiting for, maybe to kind of do what he did at Hangtown, where he pulled the gap and kind of fell back a little bit. Um, but he didn't. He kept it at 8 seconds. And yeah, dude, Chance Hymas, great ride. I think this was, we're waiting for him to break out. He's had a solid season so far. He moved himself tied in the points for second with Tom Vial. And yeah, if that speed can translate to other tracks on the circuit, I think it's going to be really fun to watch between Deegan, Vial, Kitchen, all the Hymas, all these guys. So that solid ride.
Shimoda's right there too.
Yeah, yeah.
He's starting to warm up a little bit.
Yep. And what's crazy about Chance, you hear, but he is riding with a torn ACL. He had his ACL fixed last year, and after he got hurt at High Point, I believe, got his ACL fixed. I heard he tore it again. I don't know if it was pre-Supercross or end the season or whatever. So he is riding with a torn ACL, which a lot of guys do. Some are worse than the others, but yeah, he's riding with torn ACL, and he's obviously pushing back surgery. So yeah, man, I was happy to see he's a young kid, breakout ride, awesome, awesome for him and Honda.
I blew my ACL when I was 17. I'm 47 now, and I never had it fixed, and I've been fine. But it just kind of depends on the person, right? Some
Yeah,
people, their legs flip flopping without an ACL, and other people can roll with it. So obviously, the dude's doing okay. And if I were him, I'd go without it as long as I could. Why have the surgery at that age?
yeah, yeah.
If you
That's
can
it.
ride with it, do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like you said, some guys get torn ACL and they're out for a year. Then some guys are like, whatever, I'm riding with it. So it just depends on, I guess, your strength you have built up around your knee. I've never torn my ACL, so I don't know how that feels. So it's pretty interesting. That's pretty awesome for what he's doing. Tom Vial gets third overall. He goes 2-4 on the day. Obviously, it was very close first moto that he ran in there on Haiden that last lap, but tipped over, gets second. I believe he fell moto 2, got fourth, but third overall. He's now tied with Hymas for second in the points behind Hayden. They're 23 points back. I feel like it was a good race for Vial, but I feel like he wanted that moto in moto 1, and then I don't know exactly what happened moto 2, but he wants to be closer, but still, I guess 23 points back. Solid again on the podium, so he's got a solid start to the year, but it's really hard when the guy you're going against, who's Haiden Deegan, has won 3 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty badass what the kid's doing, you know. There was a lot of good things from a lot of riders out there yesterday, but it's so hard to
Yeah,
kind of pay attention to anything else but those two going at it in that first moto. That first moto was sick, you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
I don't know what happened in the rest of the motos at all. I was trying to follow
Yeah,
that,
right.
right?
Yeah, it's like, wait, where's everybody else at? Yeah,
And the second moto was a little more of a snooze fest, kind of checking on to see if he was going to catch him, but it was also kind of impressive to see Chance click off like that and go.
yeah,
But I do think that somebody will finally get her. I don't think he's going to go undefeated this
right,
season, but
right.
boy, he's gonna be right there. And I think right now you got to say the only person who's going to beat Hayden is Hayden
Hmm.
for the title.
Yeah.
I just think he's on another level than those guys at this moment.
Yeah, right. Because so now you've had Hymas challenge him, you've had Vial challenge him, you had Kitchen challenge him, who we'll get to in a minute. But again, he gets the overall. He keeps moving his points lead up. Again, if you get a moto win and he still wins the overall, he's still getting points on you. So it's a tough combination to beat. And like you said, I don't think he's going to win every overall, but if he can continue to stack like he's doing now, and even if he doesn't win the overall, gets second or third, it's going to be pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I saw something pro motocross little kind of statistic that popped up this week. His first 15 races versus Jet's first 15 races,
Yeah.
and his numbers are better than Jet.
Yep. 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 I saw that too. Yeah,
And
that's
we
wild.
all see what Jet's done. Not
Yeah.
saying that, but
Yeah.
that's impressive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Pretty damn impressive.
It is. Joe Shimoda goes 5-3. He had a bad start Moto 1. He worked his way up. Moto 2 gets a Moto podium. I feel like Joe has the speed, just needs some better starts, and he can get up front with those guys and probably mix in. I wouldn't be surprised to see Shimoda get a Moto win this year, but I feel like he's just hit and miss. So I feel like he'll be challenging for moto wins, challenging for podiums, but I just don't know if he's going to be on that championship level like those other guys.
No, and I'd imagine that's probably not going over too well at Honda.
Yeah, especially when Hymas, I mean, he's not a rookie, his second year, but you bring
They
Shimoda,
brought Joe to win the title this year.
yeah, you bring Shimoda over to take over for Hunter and Jet, exiting the 250 class, and then now you get the not a rookie, but the newer kid is coming in and kind of stole the spotlight. So, yeah, I
I
hope.
can imagine that kind of pressure that those guys are under. I mean, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
armchair quarterback here, but you go in and you're hired to deliver and you don't. He's going to start feeling the pressure, whether Honda's pressuring him or not.
right.
He's going to feel it on himself. Just that's how those dudes are, right? And
Yep.
that's when problems start to stack up when your head's not clear, right? And you're feeling
Yep.
the self-induced pressure. That's when you make mistakes. And so I don't know. Hey, he's got to figure some shit out real quick. He needs a moto win at a minimum to to really figure things out and
Yep. And
right the ship.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like I've heard, the whispers of he's better late in the series because the pressure's off the winning the championship. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him later in the year get better and be up front all the time, but because the pressure of winning the championship's over. So we shall see. Levi Kitchen goes 3-7 on the day. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he got a podium Moto 1. He second moto, he got passed by his teammate Masterpool. He just didn't look like the Levi Kitchen we saw at the first 2 rounds. I don't know if you heard anything or saw anything, Jeff, but yeah, disappointing day for Levi, who's been in the mix the whole season. It's just maybe an off day. Wasn't his track. I don't know.
I don't know what to say about that guy. I don't know. I've never really talked to him, exchanged a few words with him before, but I don't know what's going on with that kid. And I mean, he's definitely got the bike skills and the speed.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know what to say about him.
Yeah, I expected him to be, he got third the first moto, but seventh, second moto, where he really, again, at the end of the moto, they showed him and Ty going after it, and Ty got him, and he really didn't have any fight left. So again, I don't know if he was struggling with the bike, altitude, all the above. Who knows? I guess we'll find out how he rebounds at High Point, but not the weekend that Levi Kitchen wanted. He lost some points, and he's definitely needs a good weekend next weekend. Jalik Swoll goes 7.5. And you know what? I'm actually very happy for Jalik. He's been solid all year for the first three rounds, 7.5 for sixth. He's mixing it up with these guys. Yeah, he's not on the podium, but he's on again. He's on a new bike, and he's pulling starts, and he's run up front the whole race. So stoked for Jalik.
He looks fast, man.
He
He's riding
does.
aggressive.
Yeah, he
There's
does.
been an aggression in every moto. I've seen every moto he's rode this year on that bike,
Yep.
and he is way more aggressive on that bike than he was before. So I dig that. Doesn't matter where you land as long as you're giving it 100%, and that kid's giving it 100% right now. So
Yeah.
right on for him.
Yeah, I think he's been top 8 every moto, and that's impressive because that 250 class has a deep field. So good ride by Jalik. Kudos to Triumph. Yeah, solid start so far. Ty Masterpool gets 7th overall, going 8.6. He fell that first moto. He came from like 22nd to 8th, which I thought was really good. And then they showed him second moto. He got 6th that moto, and he, was caught and passed Levi Kitchen, was catching up to Swoll this at the end of the second moto, and he was your fastest qualifier. I mean, I feel like I mean, what else could you ask for your fill-in rider on a bike that he's only ridden for a couple weeks? It's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, he was all over that fastest qualifier like a fat kid on a cupcake, man. He was stoked. So I talked to Derek Dwyer a little bit and said the kid is just super grateful to be there, super respectful. So
Hmm.
seems like it's a good fit. Not that they would tell me if he was
Yeah, sure.
being a shithead or anything, but they also wouldn't say nice things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for
It'd
sure.
just be kind of like, oh, he's okay. You know how
Yeah,
people are, right?
yeah, he'd be like, oh, it's all right. Yeah, it's going
But
okay.
no, Derek's a pretty solid dude, and he was like, "Oh man, he's super grateful and respectful for the opportunity, and he's making the most of it." And I mean, hey, it's his third ride out on the bike, and he gets fastest qualifier. The kid's the real deal, and I'm sure there's some people in the 250 class who went, "Oh shit, is he going to
Yeah.
do the same thing he did
Yes.
last year?"
Oh
Because
yeah.
it kind of cooked off at
At Thunder
Denver last
Valley.
year,
Yep.
didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he was catching
is
all the factory guys last year there on his
I-
450. Yeah.
is he just going to start whooping up everybody in the 250 class? Is he the dark horse that we haven't even considered? And, Mitch is just like, come on, do it, do it, do it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine, how stoked Mitch is for giving him the opportunity and where he's putting it, as far as results go. We all know Ty has a skill, and that's awesome. I like listening to his interviews. He seems super grateful for the opportunity, um, and I think it's a great fit. Obviously he rode for Star a couple years ago, and he had good rides, but it's always been his Supercross skills that are in question. But I mean, there's no denying his talent on a dirt bike. You don't go jump on a bike for 3 weeks, even if it is a PC Cowie, and get top tens no problem and beating a lot of these guys that have been in the class for a long time.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if there's going to be guys that just kind of split and want to just do moto and world supercross seems to have shit the bed,
Yeah.
but so
Yeah.
that option seems to be gone for now. But it almost seems like the sport's getting so intense that there's guys that just want to be moto guys and
Yeah.
guys that just want to do supercross only. I could still see that panning out in the future somehow.
Yeah, I was stoked for Ty. What a good ride. And yeah, I want to see him get a podium by the end of the year. That'd be awesome. I think he's got the skill to do it. We'll just see if it happens. Pierce Brown goes 6.9 for eighth. Good ride in the first moto. Second moto, he was way back. I listened and he said he's been happy with the bike, been happy with his riding. Second moto just had a bad start and worked his way up. So 6.9 for Pierce Brown. Um, I think he's been in this class a little bit now, and we've been waiting and waiting, waiting for this breakout ride. He had a solid Supercross season, didn't get any podiums, but I feel like he's been riding good, but I just been waiting for that one breakout moto or something from Pierce Brown, and just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, the whole TLD team
I know.
and man, DeFrancesco are just
Yeah.
kind of mid right now. They
Yeah.
need to step it up a little bit. I don't know what's going on over there. I mean, Frankie's been around a long time, and I'm sure he'll make a couple changes. With Max being gone, Max decided to go off, and he's going to do his own thing. He'll announce that pretty soon. He was a good, solid guy, but Frankie's been around racing a long, long, long time in a team capacity, and he'll right that ship. But something's got to change over there. Those
Yeah.
guys have got to get a fire lit under their ass, whether it's yelling at them and get them motivated, get Tony Robbins in there. I don't know, but they need to do something.
Yeah, and we'll talk about DeFrancisco, on the same team as Pierce Brown. He got 15th overall. First moto, he got in that first turn pile up. He charged up. The second moto, he was up front and he kind of slid back. I did hear some rumors, not how true it is, that he's actually going to Alden Baker's to train. So we'll see if that helps with.
Ryder Diaz.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, so we'll find out how true that
Well, I
is.
was kind of wondered if it was maybe a fitness thing or he's sick or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
if Alden can't whoop him into shape, nobody can.
Yeah, so that's what I heard. I heard he's going down there. Not again, crystal ball here, but that's what I've heard. We'll see how that hope turns out, and maybe that's what he's missing. Maybe it's just a little fitness he needs, because he definitely has a speed. If you look at his 1 lap speed qualifying, stuff like that, he's got the speed. It just seems like it's a fitness thing.
I think a lot of it maybe also in that program is just not the fitness part of it, but it's how to recover
Yeah,
and all that shit. I mean, there's the more and more I'm around the sport and kind of on the inside in the paddock, and I see how these guys operate, it's like, Jesus. I mean, you need somebody to manage your day for you to operate at a high level and like tell you when to eat, what to eat. You just got to get up and yes, sir. Just I ride the bike. That's the only thing I got to focus on and lift the
yeah,
weights and do the
yeah,
bike riding and
yeah.
bicycle riding and all that crap.
Basically, be the mule and have someone tell you how do you recover and train, and don't do too much, but don't do enough. Don't do not enough, right? And then the whole recovery side of it for sure makes sense.
Yeah.
Julian Beaumaire goes 9-10 for ninth. I think solid for Julian. Again, he's a rookie. This is his first year racing any pro motocross, supercross. Had a solid supercross season. We heard he wasn't an outdoor guy per se. So I feel like this is a solid 9-10. He's had a pretty good start of the season, and I don't know if KTM can ask for more.
I don't know. I'm wondering if he's got something going on with his back. I saw something on Instagram earlier today. I think that was Doc G working on him. He's sitting there fanning his
Oh
ass, and
yeah,
I'm like,
I don't know.
what the frick is going on here, dude? But
Yeah, I don't know.
does he have a sore back and he was like putting a heat pad on him or something? Did the dude just crude and farted in his face? I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was kind of an odd thing to put up on there, but in Supercross he's a ripper. So
Yeah, yeah,
I know Davey's working with him, and Davey will. The thing I like about Davey is to tell him quit being a pussy, right?
yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
tell him to get after it.
Yeah, and you can't be too bummed with a 9-10 in your first season, third round. So good ride by Julian. And then rounding out the top 10, Jordan Smith, he went 11-11. I feel like this is just Jordan Smith. He's super fast, just inconsistent. He falls a lot, gets bad starts.
Yeah, he hit it yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he fell a couple times, I think.
But
So
he was fast as
yeah,
hell.
he's fast, right? He's always fast, and that's just Jordan Smith. He'll be up front. He'll either finish up front or he has some sort of issue where he finishes a little bit back. But yeah, it's just the kind of the same old from Jordan.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he can sort that out a little bit. The one that kind of surprised me is Joey kind of almost looked like he was a gear off. He just did not look lightning fast like he did at
Yeah.
Paul in Hangtown.
Yeah, Joey went 17-8, got 8th to second moto. First moto, I don't know exactly what happened,
The
but
bike must have been off or something. If you're going to improve that many positions in the second moto, that
yeah,
had to have been a bike thing. That's
yeah.
what I would say. But
And
yeah,
yeah,
that first moto, I remember seeing him. I'm like, man, is he riding in molasses? What's going on here?
yeah, and I don't think he was caught in that first turn pile up in the 250 class, which claimed a lot of people. But and that bike is plenty capable of getting starts. You've seen Jalik pull a bunch of good starts this year, so yeah, I would say I've been waiting. I thought Joey would have a better season so far, and I'm sure he will. But again, yeah, Thunder Valley was
He's
definitely
been off the bike so long.
yeah, and he's been practicing, on this Triumph, but racing is totally different. So we'll see how it goes. I'll go to my honorable mentions for 250 before we jump in the 450. Talking about the Bakersfield boys again. Sorry. Uh, Ryder D, we talked about, he got 15th. Said move forward. The first moto got in that first turn pileup. He was stuck there for a while. We can see him on TV trying to drag his bike out. He got up to 18th. Second moto, he was up front, and yeah, he just fell back. And so, yeah, 15th for Ryder D. I hope he figures it out. Jet Reynolds goes 2019, I believe. Yeah, 2019. First moto, he was actually up in the battle and then fell way back to 30th and then caught back to 20th. So I don't know if he went down. Then second moto, bad start again. He had first lap, I think he was 28th and then made it to 19th. So I want to see what Jet can do if he gets, a top 15 start. I mean, he's battled up in the top 20 every moto when he has a bad start or whatever. So again, I'm just happy he's getting through these motos and building base fitness and stuff like that. It's good for him. Doesn't have
Yep.
to light the world on fire, but I want to see him get a good start, see how that goes.
Yep.
My buddy Brock Bennett fell in practice, hurt his shoulder, unfortunately, but he still made motos, still finished. He got 28th overall, but he was basically, I was texting him throughout the day, and he was just saying, I can't hold on with my shoulder. So hopefully he gets some rest this week and can recover for next week. And then Mark Finnis, he was running the top 10 that first motor. He actually got to
Yeah.
ninth, and I'm not sure exactly what happened to him, if he fell back or had a crash, but because he went 32:15, which he was in the top 10 for most of that first moto. So obviously I'm assuming he had a crash or something like that, but solid ride from Mark. He's showing solid speed.
Yeah, he looked really fast yesterday. I noticed that, you kind of see the leader pack come through and you see a club bike. I'm like, is that Cody or
Yeah,
is
right.
that, and I was like, oh man, that's Mark. He was up there.
Mhm.
And Cody seemed to have a good day
He
too.
did. Yeah, he did. Yeah,
So,
I saw Cody went 14-13, and I listened to an interview, and he said he got, top 8 starts both motos. He's just saying he's trying to get
hey,
that.
what was his overall at 14-13? Because we talked about that yesterday, but he didn't know what his overall was.
He got 13th. Yeah.
I said you got 13, 14.
For
Skellers, you'll probably be
17th.
18th. Yeah, 18th overall. The way this year's been working out, because no kidding, dude.
Yeah, it's wild how some of these overalls work, right? I mean, we've seen a 3-3 go for fourth overall in the past. It's like, how does it even happen? So, but yeah, good ride by Cody Shock. Good ride by Mark Finnis. He had that issue at first moto, but I mean, he showed the speed. He was running top 10. So
Yeah, my honorable mentions would be, I think Mark Phineas, he surprised me again. Jet, keep doing what you're doing, buddy. I'll take top 20s out of you all summer long as you get through a season,
yes.
and then next year we'll start kicking your ass if you're not getting
Yeah.
up there a little more. Then I'm gonna start talking some shit to you and sending you text messages. But
Yeah. Yeah.
stoked for him, and I know he's just soaking it all in and just getting back in the swing of things. So that's cool. Um, Talon Hawkins too.
Yeah. Both
Man,
motos he went down, but he went fast.
he had a rough weekend for the Hawk. But he got back up and got what it was his moto scores.
Yeah, he went 19-21, and then I saw his post on Instagram basically saying he was dead last both motos. And so that was solid if he got all the way back up.
Yeah, the kid can ride and he's fast. It's just
Yeah.
he I swear to God, I've said it before. I think these guys sacrificed a bunch of black cats and broke mirrors. They had a party, got drunk, and just raised hell, and then they've all been paying for it. And it's like 7 years of bad luck or whatever. But Talon was in that pool somewhere. But to get back up and fight through at that altitude
Yeah, for
on
sure.
that track, that was pretty cool, and I know he's one of those kids who kind of struggles with his confidence. And I would
Yeah,
always tell him, hey, dude, even if you're the last guy out on that track, you're still one of the best riders in the world, dude.
yeah, yeah.
Like last year, I tell him, you finished 18th today. You're the 18th best rider in the world today. And
Well, that's what I don't understand is these guys that, if you're first of all, if you're just on the gate for that moto, you're a gnarly dude on a dirt bike. And if the guy that got 39th place showed up at your local track, he's gonna
wax you.
wax everybody. So, and Talon, if you watch, I've watched all his videos all the time. He has some fun stuff on Instagram. The dude has bike skills for sure. He knows how to ride a dirt bike. And I think, like you said, it's just a confidence thing. He got thrown in the pros early because everybody at Rockstar Husky was hurt. I feel like he did good for what he wasn't expected to do. And yeah, I mean, to get in the top 20 after being basically dead last, again, that's a solid ride, and I'm sure he'll get some better results as the year goes on.
Yeah, I think he will. And
Yeah.
and one more honorable mention, our guy Jason Ficarra, who's one of our test
Oh
riders,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
made the trip out there and he missed he was I think he was second alternate out or first alternate out, but he just missed it. But he wadded himself up. I think it was at Paula, but he gave it the old college try. So he'll be back for Washougal, and hopefully we can bust his balls on here after the
Yeah.
Washougal National.
We'll
So
have to hopefully he gets in the motos. That'd be awesome.
yeah, he will. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
kid rips, dude.
yeah, for sure.
Just don't put him on a 125 at LACR because he does stupid shit when he does that.
And like you
Oh
said,
no, that was also at Elsinore at the Grand Prix when he came back. That 125 was just bent all to hell, and I'm like, boy, you need to get out of my sight right about now.
yeah, yeah,
I'm not happy.
don't
I'm
give,
not happy with you. You
no,
need to go over there and
yeah,
stay over there. Don't
yeah.
come around till I'm not hot anymore.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
He's a
That's
good kid.
cool
I like him and his girl, man. They're cool.
for sure. And like we talked about, all those guys out there that have the opportunity to make the motos and stuff like that, they're awesome riders, right? We don't Not just any Joe Blow can show up out there. So yeah, hopefully make some motos that Washougal. That'd be cool to watch. Jumping in the 450 class, and yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. Jet goes 2-1, and yeah, I didn't expect that. I mean, I understand how good he is and things like that. I just thought he would have some lingering effects from last week's crash. Clearly, it looked
That
like
son of a bitch catfished the entire industry.
dude, he did. That first moto, I'm like, okay, and we'll talk about Hunter getting that win, but I thought that was smart of him. Maybe his shoulder was tired and he kind of backed off. Then he even said in an interview that once he realized he wasn't going to get Hunter, he kind of recovered, held back, and started to recover for Moto 2. And yeah, Moto 2, Hunter was all over him the entire race, and yeah, he goes 2-1 for the overall. So if that's Jet on a bad day, wounded and all that, then he's
I'm kind of thinking we got catfished by that
we
Corey little
did,
fuck.
dude.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's slick, dude. I think he's pretty sweet on that. But you know, when he got top qualifier, I was like, holy crap, dude. And on site lap, Ping was like, I don't think he'll get the overall, and I'm like, dude, I think he'll get like fourth or fifth, right? I was
Yeah.
convinced that he was weeded, so goes to show how bright I am. But when he got that, I was like, oh shit, man, I'm gonna eat crow today. And then he got second. I'm like, dude, and then he got first. I'm like, dude. But
Yeah.
I saw him on the podium and he was wearing shorts. He came up to the 250 podium and
For
he,
Hymas,
he'd
yeah.
already shot. So I'm kind of looking at him and I didn't see no wounds on his legs. So if he did have something, it was
Higher up or whatever.
yeah, it was higher up. So he did say it was bugging him and he had to sit down early in the moto. So yeah, it was obviously in his quad. There was nothing on from his, just above his knee down. His leg was clean, both of them. And so it was obviously in the quad. And yeah, I'd imagine that would really, really feel like a Charlie horse after a while. And, you go back and watch the motos, he was sitting down a lot more than he normally does. But
Yeah, for sure.
I think the biggest thing on the weekend is we got to talk about what's up with Hunter snubbing RJ, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that.
I I was dying
I
laughing
saw
when
I
I saw
saw
that.
your I saw your video. He was just like it.
He probably didn't. Honestly, he probably didn't know who he was. So for everybody out there who watches this, those kids came over from Australia. They don't know a lot about moto history. And when we did the Whiskey Throttle show with those guys at the TLD studio back during COVID, we were walking around the shop in there, showing them all the bikes and the helmets, and Ping showed them inside of Troy's office one of Chicken's helmets, and Ping goes, "Oh, there's Chicken's helmet." And they're like, "Who's Chicken?" I'm looking at him like, "What? What did you just say?" And they're like, "Who's Chicken?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Jeff Matasevich."
Yeah. Yeah.
No clue. Said he probably just didn't know who he was. Probably just thought he was some MX sports guy and was like, "Yeah, all
Yeah.
right, cool,
Woo,
man,
yeah.
thanks."
Yeah. Yeah. So J Cube goes 3-3 on the day. He led both motos for at 20-25 minutes. Whole shot of both motos, looked strong, and he even said that he even said, I heard on some other interviews, that he's like, if you sprint for the first 17 minutes of a 250 race and get a gap like that, that you can usually manage it to the end. Where he said he just got gas around the 20-25 minute mark, and he just didn't have anything for him those last 5 minutes or so. But I mean, I feel like still impressive. So he showed his speed, kept those guys at bay, especially that second moto. They were all over him for a long time. Um, his first podium on a 450, I was stoked for J Cube. He's solid dude, and I feel like, again, he's overshadowed all the time. So I feel like it's just a solid ride, and he's progressing where he needs to be. And I'm sure this isn't the last podium we'll see out of him.
No, I mean the dude ripped. Was that 3 hole shots in a row? Now he grabbed the
Yeah.
last two, or he grabbed the last one at Hangtown,
Yeah.
and then he grabbed both hole shots yesterday. So that's 3 hole shots in a row. So at Hangtown, he got the second moto podium, and he got the podium, not the overall, but he got the moto podium at
Yeah.
Hangtown,
Yeah.
and now he improved that, got both hole shots and the overall podium. So
Yeah.
the guy is proving his worth over there at Star, and I really hope Bobby and those guys
Yeah. I
keep him
agree.
on, because he doesn't talk shit.
He's just
He just
quiet, does his
flies
job.
under the radar. Yeah, but he's cool, man.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I
Yeah.
saw him yesterday morning. Probably, I don't know, about 7:30 in the morning, before any of the qualifying or that stuff was going on. And he was standing in the VIP area overlooking that area where Chase went down and where Jason wrecked down in the bottom before the mechanics area, and kind of said, "Hey." And so I walked over and talked to him and kind of asked him where his favorite parts of the track were, and just kind of get an inside line on kind of getting some shots and stuff that he'd probably like. And he just seems super calm, like
Yeah.
just really even keeled. So I didn't really. I always followed him on his 250 career, but he was always real quiet when I'd kind of go around to interview him. And big dumb animal coming up to this quiet reserve guy from New York is probably, Jesus, get away from me, you mongrel, go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
But I've come to find that he's actually a pretty cool dude, man. He's pretty even keeled, so I'm stoked for him.
Yeah.
It's easy to root for the guys that are cool to you too.
Agreed. And I feel like he's just solid. And even the 250 class, he was always up front, putting himself in good situations. Lets his riding do the talking for him. And like I said, you can have a conversation with him, but he's not the outspoken, guy that's gonna do all these other things like some of the guys. So solid for Jay Coop, happy for him. That's awesome. And I'm sure leading both those motos to the 25-minute mark, he's gonna know what he needs to work on to push it to the end. So we'll see. We'll see if he gets a moto win by the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised, but we'll see. So Justin Barsha goes 4-6 on the day. I want to say sneaky good to on at Thunder Valley. I feel like he's had a pretty decent start to the outdoor season. Yeah, he hasn't been up there with Hunter, Jet, Sexton, those guys, but I feel like he's just right back behind them, between him and Anderson and Plessinger. But I feel like it's been a solid start for Barsha. And I listened to some interviews. He said, they got the bike better. He's happier. He's starting to be able to ride during the week from that knee injury he had from Supercross. So I feel like 4-6 for fourth, not a bad day. I feel like he's okay with it, and then it's on to the next.
Yeah,
Not a lot
Pretty
to,
decent.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty decent, but he wasn't lighting the world on fire either. So
No. And then you got Chase Sexton went 6'5". Moto 1, he
that
was
boy's gonna
just,
get me to start drinking again, dude.
yeah, I know. He Moto 1, I was like, so I saw him, he was behind Jet and Hunter and those guys, he's right at the tail of it, and he was like 2 seconds back of those guys and just did nothing with it. Then I saw he had that crash, which looked pretty nasty. I didn't, on TV it was just a ball of dust, so I didn't know exactly what happened. But before that jump, it looks like he high sided or something, got spit off the bike. And that,
Which one? The one at the bottom right before the finish line?
yeah,
Yeah, so he came in hot on the inside, but he went inside outside over that. It mocked Jesus, and I think right about the time he crested it, he had a come to Jesus moment and kind of tried to he would have gone right into that fence and
oh yeah, so that was Moto 2. I was thinking Moto 1. He had that
oh, Moto
crash.
one at the bottom of the hill before the mechanic area. You
Yeah,
know, Anderson ate it right in that same spot too.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if there was a weird little kicker or something right there, but Anderson also ended up on the inside
I saw
down
that.
down
Yeah,
right by the bushes.
yeah,
Chase kind of did the same thing, and then in the second moto, yeah,
yeah,
he
yeah.
mocked Jesus over that hip, and luckily he didn't get hurt. You know,
Yeah, it looked like second moto he was starting. It looked like because first moto he just looked flat and just couldn't do anything with it. Second moto looked like he had some fight in him. He was trying to get around Jay Coop for the lead, and like you said, he did that little hip jump where everybody was kind of going wide, or some guys were hip jumping over. And dude, he just stuck that outside berm, and I could have high sided him and kicked him off, but he got lucky. I feel like in that crash. Um, but yeah, just not a day for Chase Sexton to write home about, especially after last weekend, the high he was riding. Like he just looked not like Chase Sexton
well,
all
that's
day.
kind of interesting that you bring up last weekend. Did he cook himself in that second moto? You know, that was a comment that some people had kind of mentioned. You know, did he put so much out in that historic ride that he put in that he just didn't recover and maybe finally got the adrenaline and the juices flowing up there at altitude. But man, that's the wrong round. If he did cook himself, man, Colorado's the wrong round to come into cooked at that altitude. So I'm wondering if a little bit of that happened. I mean, he is probably arguably between him, Jet, and Haiden are the fittest guys in the paddock. So I don't know if there's any truth to that, but
I mean, that's a good.
it could be a possibility. But to go from 40th to first, and it was warm that day, and then to travel, wherever you went, and then travel again a couple days later and do your motos in between. Yeah, you could be the most fit guy in the world. It probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it did take a toll, but he was more lively in the second moto, and yeah, it just sucks.
Yeah, yeah,
I kind of wanted to see that battle of him and Jetson up front, and then Hunter just comes
yeah,
squeaks out the red plate, and there you go. So
yeah.
we'll
Just
see. We'll see at High Point.
yeah, bad day for Sexton. Like I said, first moto really nothing for him, and then second moto he was trying to get the lead and had that crash the first moto too. So yeah, Chase goes from having the red plate to 6 points behind, and now Hunter is the championship leader, red plate holder. So that'd be cool to see for Hunter. We'll see, how he holds on to that going to High Point. I feel like Jet and Hunter and those guys that are technical will be really good at that track. Even AP, we'll talk about AP next. He went 5'8". And I don't know if it was just the KTM's that day. Maybe they just didn't have some setup right. But AP started up front first moto, he went backwards, and then he went forward. So he went all the way back to like 8th or 9th, and he caught back up to 5th. So, but he started third. He was up front and just got swallowed up, and then charged up to 5th. First moto, second moto, he had a bad start. He started around 20th, and then he worked his way up to 8th. But yeah, just not the day for AP that I expected, especially after last week at Hangtown and seeing Sexton struggle. So I just curious if maybe there's something with the bike that they did. I heard that Chase actually changed his setup for the first moto from Hangtown, which I thought was interesting because it was working. And then he went back to the Hangtown setup second moto. So yeah, interesting that he would change because especially with how comfortable he was at second moto at Hangtown. So not really sure what happened there. Anderson goes 10-4 for seventh. That first moto, man, he was up there, and then I saw him start looking around, and I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, I don't know if I know Jason has altitude issues. We've heard about altitude sickness over the years, but I don't know. Having that first moto, he was put in a fight, and then as soon as those guys got around him, he was just like, okay, I'm done. And then he had that crash at the bottom of that hill, first moto. Second moto though, solid. He got fourth, which I feel like he's the third, fourth, fifth, sixth place guy. But yeah, he just first moto looked just off.
Yeah, but he was fun as shit to watch over that wall jump.
Oh, I
He
know, dude. He
was
was
sending
sending
it.
it. Yeah. I like.
Freddie Norton, I think, was the first one to send it in practice, and I didn't see it. I was down in the bottom during practice, and I saw Jason do it, and so I started filming that, and then I saw another Kawasaki fly back over him. Like, wait, he can't be that back around already, and I kind of looked back over, and I was like, yeah, Freddie, get
Yeah,
some.
yeah,
But
yeah,
they were sending that.
yeah. I saw in practice too. I saw Hayden do it. Can't remember who else in 250 class, but I was like, man, it did say.
What's his name? Masterpool did it too.
Oh, Masterful. Yeah, yeah. It did set you up for the outside, so I know that corner had a lot of ruts, and but I feel like whenever I watch those guys do it, they would, obviously closing the gap real quick because the other guys were not jumping it. But I feel like since they had to go so far wide that they really what you were gaining, you're just giving back and probably took a lot of energy. So, but it was a cool section to watch.
Took a lot of
See,
balls too.
yeah, yeah, I saw that. I'm like, dang, saw those guys airing it out. So that was cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it was rad.
Anderson, solid hit so far. He has, his hit and miss motos where he'll go, like this weekend 10-4. Obviously he has a speed. I think he's a podium threat. But I feel like he'll be in that 3 to 6, 7 range most of the year. He might sneak in, a moto win or second place here and there, but I feel like he's just in that third to seventh range, which it's not it's not a bad place to be, especially when you're talking about Hunter, Jet, Chase, and those guys. So not everybody can be, podium guy all the time.
Stacked.
It really is, especially up front. Malcolm Stewart goes 7-7 for eighth. We talk about bad math. I don't know how that works out. But again, solid for Malcolm. Just
Hey,
listen.
after last week, don't ask me about math, dude, because you let me sit there and look like a damn fool, son. I mean, I'm the product of the public school system. I got expelled from high school twice, and you're over here. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Denny
Well, yeah,
Stevens over here lighting me up. I ain't giving no moto scores math. Screw you, dude.
what's funny is I didn't even catch it when we are talking, and then I listened back after we sent it over, and I was like, "Oh shit, Jeff's math's wrong." And then I didn't even. And then of course Nate picks that for the clip. I'm just
Oh, I
like,
told him to. I told him to. I said, "Hey, dude, just I'm gonna own it, bro. I'm gonna own it." So there's a lot
but
of things I'm gonna own.
yeah, yeah,
That Beavis edit I made of Hayden's filmer last week. It was well received and they thought it was funny, but Brian laughed and said, you got one coming, right? I go, yeah, I'm probably gonna be two knuckles deep picking my nose and one of y'all is gonna get me, and that's just gonna get
uh,
blasted on one of the biggest accounts on social media. But nah, I'm here for it. I can take a beating.
yeah. It's all for fun, right? But yeah, so Malcolm Stewart 7-7 for eighth. That math checks out for whatever reason. That's just how it works. But again, solid for Malcolm. I heard interviews. Uh, he just says he's just logging laps. He hasn't been to this track in 10 years. I don't know if you can expect a whole lot out of Malcolm other than where he's finishing. Again, he hasn't raced outdoors
Yeah,
in
but
a
he's
while.
climbing up every weekend. He's getting better.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
his talent's there, right? It's no
what
shortage
what
of
I,
talent.
what I'm really wondering is if he can make it through this entire moto season and super motocross healthy,
Yeah,
what's that going to do for supercross for him?
and I think
Because he's
that's yes, I think that's what he's wanting.
that's what I'm really intrigued to see about Malcolm, because he's steadily climbing in one of his obviously not favorite
Yeah,
disciplines, which is
yeah,
outdoors. Is this what he needs to be able to come into supercross? So that's what I'm just, please
yeah.
let him be healthy. God, I mean, AP got his win. He's like it's like the Cubs and the Red Sox a while back. The Cubbies got one, or the Red Sox got it,
Got
and then the
one.
Cubbies finally got it. So we need Malcolm to get that win, dude, and then all will be right in the world.
Yeah, and I feel like you just said, Malcolm has missed. He hasn't been able to put a full season together, which always puts him behind the eight ball in Supercross, right? So I feel like just getting these motos under his belt, getting that base fitness, just building all year into SMX, into Supercross next year, I feel like he'd be in a better spot because he's always just catching up from an injury. So hopefully he can keep it going. Again, solid start to the summer. I don't think he can be really upset with that, which I don't think he is. Dylan Ferrandis goes 8th, 9th for 9th overall. I heard he had some bike problems in that first moto. I heard the bike was making some noise, but he did finish anyway 8-9. But I gotta say, I feel like this would, in Dylan's eyes, would be a disappointment to the start of the season because he really changed that Honda to for he's if you heard his comments that he was watching Chase and Jet and all those guys last year and a couple of years before. Even when he won the championship that year, he said he saw things the Honda could do that he couldn't do on his Yamaha. And so he switches to Phoenix Honda, which is a privateer team. Yeah, I just don't know if it's
He's
going.
got the best suspension guru out there right
Yeah,
now with
yeah,
Ziggy, though. So I don't
yeah,
think the suspension's a problem. I wonder if it's mental.
yeah.
I think there's a lot of mental going on there. I'd be hard pressed to say it's the bike or the suspension. I just think he's searching for something that he hasn't found yet. And
Agreed. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with that.
because he can ride so good. I mean,
Yeah,
he's champion, but just some boxes not checked there. I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, and we knew, even when that year he won the championship, and then the years past, even when he didn't win the championship, he's always been one of those guys that is strong to the end, pushes, makes that late race charge type of thing. You're just not seeing that out of him this year, and yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on. 8-9 is not what he wants, I'm sure. So we'll see, as the summer goes on, if he gets any better. But so far, I think it's probably a disappointment for him. And then rounding out your top 10, Christian Craig, 9-10 for 10th overall. And I feel like it's a good step for Christian. He's battling an elbow, right? It's still hurting him. And he's gotten better each week. And he was running up there with those guys, the top 6, 7, 8, 9 for a while. Um, I, I'm sure he wants more, but I don't think you can really expect a whole lot, especially with the elbow stuff he's still dealing with.
Dude, he looks like he went and took the Terminator's arm, that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, took the Terminator's arm and put it in his elbow. And I mean, dude, he's got like a lag bolt going into the end of dude, it's how the hell he's even riding, he's got, his spine injury and that elbow, dude. I mean, that guy's got 10 pounds of hardware in him. And the
Yeah.
fact that he's still out there running top tens in the 450 class, that's pretty impressive. So if anybody questioned Christian's heart, I think he's kind of answering that because honestly, I didn't know where he'd end up. I never questioned his desire.
Right. Yeah.
You could see, like, if you watch some of those videos that the Rockstar Husky team would put out, man, he gets pretty fired up, man. He's got some passion for it. He's not there collecting a paycheck. And
Right. Yeah.
I was really glad to see him get a top 10 this weekend and do well so far this summer because I think it'll kind of shut a lot of people up, and hopefully he can keep his ride or end up still on a good team next year. And this won't be the end of Christian. I mean, it'd be horrible for an elbow injury like that to take him out. He came off the 250 title and then just has not had a good
Yeah.
450 career. It'd be nice to see him
Yeah.
close it out with some solid results before he packs it in.
Yeah, and you can too because he's ridden the 450 outdoors a lot. Even when he was in the 250 class, he rode it for Honda. He was on TLD Honda 450 way back in the day, being out front. Then he was riding for factory Honda outdoors. Then he rode for Star 450 outdoors, and he was riding 250. Yeah, I just feel like he's had a tough go of it the past 2 years, and obviously the elbow injury is not ideal. But I think he could have just packed it up for the summer, but I feel like he's trying to prove himself for a ride for next year because his last year on his contract. So, but like you said, looking at those videos they post, he wouldn't be that upset with his riding if he was just riding for a paycheck. He wants a lot more. So it's not for a lack of trying, to say the least. So yeah, stoked for
Yeah.
Christian. Good start to the year with all things considered. And yeah, we'll see how far he can get up as we go out through the year, but a step in the right direction that I don't think he could be too mad about. So yeah, that was the top 10 450 class. Um, I feel like I, man, going to this weekend, I was really thinking that Chase had the upper hand on everybody, and now I'm just left waiting for next weekend, seeing what's going to happen because Jet was wounded, still gets the overall this weekend. Chase flounder around that first moto, second moto looked good, but then had that crash. Jacob solid. Hunter's been really surprising. Now he's got the red plate. I feel like it's just wide open.
Yeah, it's insane what's happened this summer so far already.
Yeah, I agree. And if Jet's still getting the overalls after having a crash like that and being wounded, yeah, they were giving him a run for his money, both motos, but I don't think he's 100% by any means. So if that's him on his bad days, then these guys are really in for it once he heals up. But yeah, I guess we'll find out next weekend. But man, kudos to Jet. Awesome for Hunter getting his first moto win of the season, and for Jay Coop as well, going 3-3 and leading both motos. Solid weekend for those guys.
Who's your honorable mentions for the 450 class?
I feel like after it goes after the top 10, you got Harlan and Marshall Welton. I want to say Grant Harlan. He had a rough Supercross season. I feel like he had a really good outdoor season last year, and yeah, from what I heard from the interviews he had at the end of Supercross, he wasn't even practicing Supercross anymore, and then he was just riding motos. So, um, he had that big crash at the Motocross Nations last year racing for Team Puerto Rico. I think he broke his
Yep,
femur or
in
hip.
his hip.
Yeah,
That was a
so
career-ending injury for him.
yeah, and he was riding the best he's ridden in his career, right? He was solid all outdoor season, and then he goes to Motocross of Nations, has an injury, struggled really bad in Supercross. So it was cool to see Grant Harlan get up there, top 15. He's got more in the tank, and I'm sure he'll inch closer to that top 10. But it was really cool to see him finally getting back to where he was last year, even from the injury he had.
Yeah, I'd say Christian's my top 10, or I mean, not my top 10, but my honorable mention. Just that 10th overall or top 10 finish was just awesome.
Yeah,
I'm pretty stoked for the guy. He's just a genuine good guy, and it was good to see.
yeah, agreed. Well, that's it for riders meeting for round 3 at Thunder Valley. We'll look forward to next weekend. Are you going to make it up there next weekend?
Yeah, I'll be at High Point.
Awesome. Yeah, High Point. I'll be curious to see how that track develops. We know in the past that it's been super ruddy, right? They usually dig that thing deep and it ends up with lots of ruts. We'll see if it's any different with how they've been prepping the tracks this year. But I feel like High Point's usually always ruddy, and I feel like you'll see the guys that are very technical will excel at that. So that'll be fun to watch as long as we don't get any weather or anything like that.
Yeah, it'll be my first trip out there, and all the media guys are all, dude, that place is badass. You're gonna love it. So, I've seen the videos of some kid doing some huge step down,
Oh
calling
yeah.
out
Oh
Haiden.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that.
I hope he doesn't take the bait. The juice ain't worth the squeeze, dude. So I
Oh,
hope he doesn't go. If he does and he lands it, I hope I'm there when he does. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to High Point. Got some friends out there that I've met in the industry that are going to go hang out with. But stoked on that. We're going to skip Southwick. We've got the X Games we're committed to, so we're doing that, and then we'll be back for Redbud.
Red
So
Bull.
I've
Yeah.
never been to either one, so I'm super stoked for that.
Yeah, Redbud would be a fun time for sure. You might have to pick up drinking for that weekend.
Ask Ping, dude. No, I went to England, and yeah, let's just say my drinking career's on the shelf for a little while. And I didn't do anything bad, but I was the life of the party and the talk of the paddock the next day. I'll tell you that.
Hey,
I was told I was proper English drunk.
hey,
And
I mean,
if you ever put those videos out, you're gonna have to hide from me.
yeah. Hey, I guess instead of win in Rome, right? Win in England. So it is what it is. So
Oh, I ain't scared. I went for it. It hurt, but I went for it.
awesome. Well, that's riders meeting for round 3 at Thunder Valley. We'll catch you guys for sight lap for round 4 at High Point. See you guys.